Hi, it's Summer, and I thought that it would be fun to kick off Pride Month with a few queer book recommendations. I actually made this exact same video last year, so if you want even more book recommendations, you can go check that one out. I'll link it up in the cards and in the description. So I won't be repeating any of the books that I mentioned in last year's video, but just know that most of the books in that video are some of my all-time faves, so you definitely need to read them this month. But here are some new favorites that I've read since filming that last video. I'm starting this off so strong because this is one of my favorite books that I've read recently. It's House of Hunger by Alexis Henderson. This one is kind of like an alternate history, kind of Victorian era type book. I love the description of this one. It says, "Wanted, bloodmaid of exceptional taste. Must have a keen proclivity for life's finer pleasures. Girls of weak will need not apply." So the main character in this one is a young woman named Marion, and she's living in poverty and just kind of like hates her life, but she sees this wanted ad for a blood maid. Blood maids are used by people in high society. If you become a blood maiden, you're going to be letting rich people basically drink your blood because they believe that it is kind of like the cure for certain sicknesses and ailments and stuff. So like it pays well and you'll be taken care of, but it's also just kind of like a sketchy situation. But Marion is desperate, and so she leaves her old life behind and goes to become a blood maid, and there are some dark secrets that unfold. But this is the only thing that you need to know about this book. Lesbian vampires. Even though this isn't exactly like a vampire book, like there aren't vampires in this, it has vampire vibes. And it's like gothic and creepy and unsettling and also sexy. So it's a very fun book. I gave this one 5 stars. I absolutely love it and I highly recommend it. Next, I'm recommending another sapphic horror book, and that's Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield. This one is another all-time favorite book. It's kind of like a sad, slow, melancholic horror book. So if you're wanting like blood and guts and like in-your-face stuff, that's not what this is. This one follows 2 women that are married. One of them is kind of like a marine biologist type of person, and she goes missing along with her crew during a like deep sea exploration mission. The description for this one says, "Miri thinks she's got her wife back when Leah finally returns after a deep sea mission that ended in catastrophe. It soon becomes clear though that Leah is not the same." So it's dual POV, and we're kind of following like what happened while Leah was underwater, from both of their perspectives. And it's really eerie and creepy to just be hearing about like what Leah and her crew are experiencing. And then it's also hard to be hearing Miri's perspective of like grief, both before and after Leah gets back. And you also get these kind of like flashbacks of their relationship before this deep sea exploration. Also, if I'm remembering right, this one kind of feels like stream of consciousness at times, which is one of my favorite like writing styles to read. If you want a weird, sad, sapphic horror book, this one is definitely for you. Next, I have another favorite book, and that's Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. This is a female-female fantasy romance. It is just the coziest book you'll ever read, and I loved this. It's not heavy on the romance, but it's very sweet to read. After a lifetime of bounties and bloodshed, Viv is hanging up her sword for the last time. So this is following Viv and Tandri. Viv has decided to put her battling behind her and open up a coffee shop, and she's opening it up in a place that's never even heard of coffee. She ends up hiring Tandri to come and work in the shop with her. There's also this like little mouse guy named Thimble that works there too, and he's the one who does all of the baking and stuff. I would die for Thimble, I love him. This one is advertised as a novel of high fantasy and low stakes, and I would definitely agree with that. If you just need something that's easy to read, that's going to make you happy and feel cozy, this is definitely the book that I would recommend. Definitely one of my all-time favorite books. I have a couple of like Christmassy type books up next, so I totally understand if you don't want to read these in June. You can save them for like the holiday season though. First, I have A Merry Little Meet Cute, and this one is by Julie Murphy and Sierra Simone. This cover is so cute. The main character in this one is named Bee, and she's a plus-size adult film star, and she gets kind of accidentally cast in a lead role for basically a Hallmark Christmas movie. So she obviously has to kind of keep it a secret because it would be a huge scandal for an adult film star to be in a family-friendly movie. She's starring in this film alongside like an ex-boy band member that she had a crush on all growing up, and she doesn't know that he is like a member of her like OnlyFans basically. This one is a super funny book. I remember laughing out loud so many times. It's sex positive, which was really nice. Their chemistry was really fun, and it was steamy, and I loved it. It's not a huge part of the story, but Bee is bisexual, and I might be remembering wrong, but I kind of want to say that Nolan isn't straight either. And it was actually kind of nice to read a book that has queer representation, but that's not what the whole entire book is about. Now that I'm thinking about it, I actually haven't read very many books with bi rep in it, and as a bi woman, I would like to be reading more of that. So if you have any books with bi representation in them, definitely let me know in the comments. My next holiday book recommendation is Kiss Her Once for Me by Allison Cochran. This one is a second chance romance, forced proximity, marriage of convenience, lesbian holiday romance. The main character in this book is named Ellie, and current day, she's doing this kind of like fake relationship, marriage of convenience with this guy that she kind of works with. To make it more convincing and more real, she agrees to go and spend Christmas with him and his family up in a cabin. But when she gets there, she finds out that his sister is one of her exes. And she's kind of like the one that got away a little bit. So there's kind of like some things happening between them, and then Ellie is also having to kind of like act like she's into this guy. And she's also just falling in love with this family and stuff too. And there's so many fun Christmas vibes in this book. They do so many fun like Christmas activities. It was just such a fun, cute, easy to read book, and there are lots of Taylor Swift references. Next, I have some graphic novels. This one is Mooncakes by Wendy Zhu, Suzanne Walker, and Joamette Gill. I feel like I've talked about this one a lot on my channel. Like, I just need to read you this blurb on the cover from Casey McQuiston. It says, if mooncakes were a spell, it would be a housewarming charm that settles with care into the softest parts of a home and makes the house plants grow. I wish that I could live inside this book. Ditto what she said. This is just the coziest book. I read this back in October of last year because this is kind of like a witchy book and there's lots of magic, and it was just like perfect for that time of year. This one has a lot of really great queer representation in it, and it's also a really cute kind of second chance romance. It follows Nova and Tam. Nova is a witch and Tam is a werewolf, and Tam is also non-binary. And Nova has been raised by her nanas. I don't want to say too much more about this one because it is kind of a shorter graphic novel. This one is just so cute and kind of like low stakes, and it's the perfect thing to read when you just want to be cozy. The next graphic novel that I'm recommending is The Tea Dragon Society by Katie O'Neill. The illustrations and colors in this book, perfection. This one just follows characters that take care of these magical beings called tea dragons. They're just like these cute little tiny dragons that have like leaves and flowers that grow out of their head where their horns are, and you can turn the clippings from those plants into tea, and the tea has magical properties. Basically everything that I said about Mooncakes also applies to this one. It was just cute, easy to read, low stakes, and very cozy. The last book that I'm going to fully talk about is Take a Hint, Danny Brown by Talia Hibbert. This one does have bi rep in it, and it's one of my favorite books. Talia Hibbert is just like one of my go-to auto-bi authors at this point. I love how she writes romance. This one follows Danny and Zaf. Danny is a kind of like college professor. She's also bi and she's a witch, and I love that for her. Zaf is the security guard at the university that she works at, and he also reads romance. And he's in touch with his emotions. We love a man who can cry. One day when a video of Danny and Zaf goes viral and people kind of start to ship them, they decide to kind of lean into it and fake date in order to get Zaf's nonprofit some more attention. This one is just so cute and sweet, and I just love how they support each other so much. Also, I'm pretty sure that Danny has pink hair, and that's amazing. And also, this is a very steamy book, and it was such a fun time. I wanted to do a couple of honorable mentions. These aren't favorite books by any means. Pretty much every other book that I've mentioned on this list has been like 4 stars or more for me. These 3 were just kind of like okay books. I rated them like 2.5 to 3 stars. But even though they weren't my favorites, you might like them. So there's The Ex-Hex and The Kiss Curse. They're both like witchy small town romances. And then Flower Heart by Catherine Bakewell. This one is also kind of witchy, and the main character has flower magic. So those are all the books that I recommend for round 2 of this video. Please leave any recommendations down in the comments. Happy Pride Month, and I will just see you in the next one. Also, I almost forgot to show you, I did my nails rainbow for Pride Month. I'm obsessed with them, and this has been my favorite way to do my nails, where you just do like color blobs on them. It's easy and it looks like you put a lot of time into it. Okay, but now bye for real.